Hi guys, this is Eliza. Welcome back to Eliza's Bookshelf. Today I want to go over all the books that I read in May. This is my May wrap up. That's the word. I think it was a major hit for science fiction. There was one book that was absolutely the worst, and you guys probably already know if you watched the other videos that I have, and there were a couple in here that were just okay, but basically, once again, let's go over it by least favorite to the most favorite. And the least favorite I don't even have right now because I already unhauled it. I gave it to my nearest what is it called, the free little libraries. I have one around the corner in my neighborhood, so I already unhauled it, but it's called Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. It was just a book that I really had maybe some high expectations for because of all the hype surrounding it. And when I read it, I was just like, am I reading the same book everyone is reading? Because the characters, or the one character in here, really sucked. Everyone else is fine. The story itself is just okay. It was really not what I was expecting, so I didn't like it. It was my least favorite of this month, and actually probably the only book that I did not like. So now that we got that out of the way, let's take a breath. My next book is The Inheritance Games. That word is just so tricky for me for some reason, by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And so this is a YA, kind of like a mystery book. I thought it was just okay. One thing I didn't like about it is this like weird love triangle going on between, some of the characters. So basically you have this girl who is really down on her luck. I think her mom passed away. Her dad is kind of like deadbeat, kind of left them alone. She has this half sister with him, and she doesn't have a place. She's kind of living out of her car, and she just gets this, maybe a letter, or was it a letter? Maybe she just got kidnapped. But anyways, she gets this information about how she's getting like a million, gazillion, probably billions of money from this one guy who passed away. And in order to keep that money, she has to go to his estate and live there for a full year, survive there, I guess. I don't know why, but well, I do remember why. But in the beginning, you don't know why. So she has to live there. That is what she has to do in order to get that inheritance money. And when she gets there, she meets these 4 grandsons of this guy. And they're all trying to figure out what is going on too, and why she's getting money, why they're not getting much. They have to solve this whole riddle, getting clues. I forgot what it actually entails, but it was interesting when I read it. I just didn't like this very YA feel of the love triangle. And YA has this large, you can have YA from your early teens, 12, 14, to YA in your 18 kind of year olds. And this one felt really middle school type of YA in terms of the love triangle romance. It's like, oh, this person is so close to me. My heart is speeding up, but I just didn't like that love triangle because, okay, for one, I didn't feel any connection between any of the characters. 2, I don't know, I just didn't like it. So at first, I felt like it was hard to remember all of the grandsons and the specific characters. I just remember there's an older one, there's a younger one, and then there's the middle 2, which I think she has the love triangle with. Overall, I thought it was interesting mystery, and at the end, it did end on a cliffhanger. So you figure out why there was that mystery, why this main character got the inheritance, but it sets it up for the next book because I think there's a larger thing going on there. I just don't think that it interests me enough to continue, but it was all right. I'm glad I finally read this book. I need to collect all my bookmarks. But yeah, so that's this book. The next book I want to talk about is, You've Read Sam. Oops. The next book I want to talk about is You've Read Sam by Dustin Tao. So I went into this thinking that it was going to be super sad, and it was not. It didn't make me shed any tears. It was just okay. It was a little bit sad, but basically she calls up her dead boyfriend because she wants to hear his voice one more time. And instead of getting that voicemail, she actually gets him. He's like, hi, is this you? They're trying to figure out what is going on. But yes, they're really talking to each other, and it's like her last chance to really communicate with him because she didn't get to say bye to him. But instead of saying bye, she actually just continues talking to him as if he's alive. You know, the whole time he's saying like, you know, we shouldn't really be talking about my future, or whatever. You need to let go. We need to say bye at some point. But she is having trouble doing that. And throughout the whole book, you see her friends, his family, her family moving on, going to the funeral. They're trying to say their goodbyes to him, and she's just holding on. She can't say bye. And so I think it was really sweet seeing her process, and I guess it was a little sad. It just wasn't what I was thinking. But I mean, the book is super pretty. The cover is so sad already because they're talking on the phone to each other. They're holding each other's hand. This one is kind of muted out because he's dead. Yeah, I guess it was kind of sad, but the book was so cute itself. Yeah, but it was just okay. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. The next book is Stephen King's Later. I really like this book actually, and he has a couple of other books in the Hard Case Crime series. I guess the Hard Case Crime series is a bunch of books by different authors, but it's all crime books. So this one has a little twist to it. It's called Later, and he explains in the beginning why it's called Later, but I don't think it made a big impact for me to remember why. Basically, you have this kid who, from a young age, the mom already knew that he has special powers, special abilities, and it's his ability to see dead people. It's so funny because in the beginning, the author, or not the author, him speaking, the boy, he's saying like, I know what you're thinking. It's not like that. It's not like that movie, I See Dead People. What is that movie called? The Sixth Sense? Yeah. He's like, it's not like that Sixth Sense movie, I See Dead People. It's not like that. It's nothing like that. But when he describes everything that he sees, it's exactly like that. Okay, I guess the plot isn't like The Sixth Sense, but the way he describes how he sees dead people, you know, it reminds me of specific scenes that I saw in The Sixth Sense, and it super creeped me out. I remember when I was holding this book, and sometimes I'm just done with work and I walk out to my car, I open a book and I'm reading from work to my car. And so I remember reading this and someone pops up right next to me, and I got so spooked out because I was in the middle of reading the book and I was like, oh shit, this is a dead person next to me. But it wasn't. It was just a regular patient walking around. So yeah, I think this book was super, not too freaky, but it has its moments. The way he describes these dead people, it was just so gruesome. So basically he sees dead people only for like a short amount of time after they're actually dead. So he sees them for maybe 3 to 5 days after they died, and then they just move on to the afterlife. Some people though have issues and they stick on for longer, and so he has a problem with some characters, some dead people. But there's actually a side plot to this. Like, him seeing dead people is not the primary thing going on. The thing is, his mom's ex-lover is using him and his abilities to try to get her own, you know, success in life, to get her own money. She's like trying to get a bunch of drugs and sell it. But in order to do so, she needs him because I don't want to spoil too much. Basically, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of dead people. So I enjoyed it. It was pretty short actually, and I liked it so much that I actually want to pick up like his other books in the Hard Case Crime. He has The Colorado Kid, he has Joyland, so those sound pretty good. And I love the art. I love like the old feeling art. But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. I probably already spoiled a lot, but I enjoyed it. The next book is For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. I read this. It was pretty cute. The thing I didn't like about it is like sometimes the author goes into a lot of, she goes way in depth into explaining the, you know, the leaves, the trees, the green in the veins and the eyes, and sometimes I just get lost in it and I'm like, all right, what's going on? So sometimes I just zoned out and I didn't like that part about it. But overall, the story itself I thought was pretty interesting, and it's something new that I've never read before. But we have Red, short for Radaris, but obviously Little Red Riding Hood vibes here. And she is the second daughter. So as second daughter, she's supposed to be sacrificed to the Wilderwood, which, you know, they made this agreement a long time ago to keep having these sacrifices in order for the Wildwood to protect the community from these Shadowlands and these creatures. And so that's still going on. And of course, it's like decades, centuries later, they're still doing it. But the story kind of gets lost about why this actually is going on. They feel like this wolf in the Wildwood is some big bad guy who like eats you up. But that's really not the case, you know? And so that's really awesome to read about, you know. Red and this wolf formed some sort of relationship. I thought that was super cute. And then her sister, named Neve, the next book is going to be about her, because at the end of this book, you know, small cliffhanger, I guess, but it sets it up for the second book in the series, and I'm really excited for that. It comes out later this year. I think I already have it pre-ordered. I just forget what month it comes out, but I'll be surprised when it comes in the mail. So I really like this one. Pick it up if you feel like reading a maybe YA type fantasy romance book. It's supposed to be adult fantasy, but it felt more YA. I liked it. All right, the next book is Christina Lauren, Something Wilder. And maybe this is a little bit tied with Emily Henry's Book Lovers. I really enjoyed both. They're both so beautiful to look at. They're both a pretty shade of blue. So I guess I'll just talk about Christina Lauren, Something Wilder first. I really like this book. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did, because their last few books were just okay for me and not as memorable, but this one was really cute. The reason why it's not really higher up there on my list this month is because the romance itself was a little bit lacking. And for Christina Lauren's books, of course, I read it expecting a good romance, but that part was not the thing that shined for me. It was the adventure and the mystery that really took a, really was the front runner for me. The romance itself, I didn't really get on board, because it's about these two that were together a long time ago, and then they broke up because of obviously severe communication issues there. Like, it was really bad, but they broke up because of that, and it wasn't really just a breakup. He like ghosted her. Anyways, yeah, they didn't speak for a whole decade. I believe it was actually 10 years later that they met again. And so now that they met again, they're going on this adventure to look for this treasure that his father hid somewhere. And so through this time together, they kind of like work out their differences about what happened in the past. I just didn't feel their connection that much, because I don't know why they fell in love a decade ago, right? I think they only were together, or they knew each other for 5 months, but I didn't have that history, a lot of that information in the past about how they fell in love. So now that they met each other, they're just trying to work out their problems. And yeah, so the romance was just okay, but the adventure itself was really fun. It's like more violent than I thought it would be in terms of a Christina Lauren's romance book, but there's some violence in there, so get ready, you guys. And then, yeah, because everyone's trying to get this treasure, and it doesn't always turn out good for some people. But in the end, oh my gosh, the end I really liked. It was super sweet. I don't actually remember what happens with the couple in the end, though. Like I said, the couple did not, you know, the romance was kind of lacking for me, so it wasn't as high up there on my ratings list this month, but it was pretty good. I liked it. The other one is Emily Henry, Book Lover. And although this is not my favorite of hers, it's actually still pretty good. I really liked the meet cute in the beginning. When they first meet, the banter was really, really funny. I think they just play off of each other's words really well. They're sarcastic. I don't know if they're actually sarcastic. They just keep rolling with the punches and the jokes. But from the moment they met in the beginning, I love them two together already. So I guess, so they both work in the literary world. One of them is a literary agent. One of them does something else different. I already forget what exactly they do, but they do have different roles. And so they meet because of their job in the beginning, but didn't really agree with the book that they were talking about. So they got off on bad terms. And I think they both were already having bad days. So they did not like each other. But they meet each other again, you know, a little bit into the future, maybe a year or two later. And so you see their relationship form, and I think it's so cute. I think the ending was really well done. And nothing felt forced. Everyone made their own decisions, and I think it was so cute. The reason why it's not my favorite is because I think in the middle there was a lull, and I found myself thinking like, oh, what else is gonna happen, you know? But I ended up really liking this. This is not the Target exclusive. The Target exclusive I have downstairs, but I think I was really sad at one point because I put my book on the top of clothes that I did not know was wet, and so the whole back of the book was really wrinkled. I think the pages were wrinkled too, so that made me sad. But yeah, I have 2 copies of this book and I'm not mad about it. It's a really cute book. All right, so the next one, Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian, by Vera Kurian. So this is a mystery thriller book, and it's really different from anything that I've read recently because it's actually about these psychopaths that are given a free ride to this college because there's a psychiatrist or a therapist, psychologist, someone wants to do a study on these psychopaths and want to make sure that they continue to not do bad things and not become murderers and stuff like that, right? But it's just very funny and very different because these psychopaths, they actually start to meet one another throughout the whole book because the main person, I think it's told in 3 point of views, but also like first person or third person. So it's a little bit different from chapter to chapter, and they don't really tell you which chapter is whose chapters. You just go in knowing who's talking. But you have one person, I think her name is Chloe. Yeah, Chloe, you have Chloe and you have a couple other players, but Chloe is coming here and she already has an agenda coming into this college because she is there to murder someone, murder an ex, someone she knew in the past in high school. She is going in the mindset that she is going to kill this guy. Before doing so, though, there is already a murder on campus. And it turns out the person who was murdered is one of the psychopaths in the program already, in the study. So when you go in, these psychopaths don't know who the other psychopaths are, but with the murder and the murders that happen, so there's several murders, you know, with that happening, they're trying to figure out who else is in the program so that they can figure out who is killing them. And first they're like, oh, is it another psychopath in the program that's killing us? Or is it someone outside who is targeting us? They're trying to work together, but at the same time, they don't trust each other. So I think that's super funny. I think it's just weird and crazy the way the author writes these characters because they're obviously, you know, something going on with them, but you do root for them. You do want them to come out alive. You don't want them to be the killer, but I don't know. It's just so crazy because, you know, there is like cheating involved, and even with that cheating, I find myself not caring. It's just so weird. Like, I really hate it. I really hate books that have cheating involved. I really hate the cheaters. I want them to crash and burn. But with this one, I'm like, oh, you're cheating? All right, well, that's fine. It's weird. So I find myself feeling contradictory things in this book, but overall, I really liked it. It was something new, different. The ending was crazy too. The ending I probably saw coming at the end of the book, but I really like this one. It's Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian. So pick this up if you haven't already, if you feel like a mystery thriller. I really like this one. So my top 2 were science fiction books, and I actually had trouble figuring out which one I liked more than the other. At the end, I think I picked Recursion by Blake Crouch over Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, but honestly, they were just so close. So I guess May was a science fiction winner. I love these 2 so much. In the end, I think I picked this over this one because it was super fast paced. It was really mind-boggling. It's a huge mind fuck, and I really liked the romance in it. But this one was super awesome too. I did have a review of it already, and so maybe I'll link it up somewhere. Maybe I won't if I don't know how to. Yeah, so I guess I'll talk a bit about this and then I'll go into Recursion, which was my favorite. Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. I read this one with my husband. It was really awesome. It's a really big book, I think. It's maybe like 460 pages, but I flew by it because it was just so easy to read. He explains all the physics concepts very well, and it's basically about this guy who wakes up alone in this spacecraft, this spaceship, whatever you call it, next to these two dead bodies, and he's trying to remember why he's there. And you figure out chapter by chapter, as he remembers it, why he's on that ship, and he figures out he's on a mission to save Earth. But you realize what exactly is going on with her, and along his journey he meets this other character, which I don't want to spoil too much, but he does figure out what his mission is, and I guess you'll see if he reaches that, or if he accomplishes that mission. But it's becoming a movie, and I'm super excited about it. I just don't know when it's gonna become a movie, because I keep looking it up. All we know is that there is gonna be Ryan Gosling as one of the main characters. So yeah, I'm super excited about it. Please read it if you haven't already. It's super funny. It's like hilarious, super funny, easy to understand, and some of the characters in here are just super badass. So yeah, I really liked it. I don't want to go into it too much because one, I already talked about it in a review. Two, this video is already super long. But then we get into Recursion by Blake Crouch. So this is my favorite of the month, and I think I had this book for a long time. Let's see. It is my June 2019 book. So it's already been 3 years that I've had this. Right? Yeah, 3 years. So it's already been 3 years since I've had this book, and I think I just never picked it up because I read his other book, Dark Matter, and I love that one so much. I was just afraid this was not going to live up to it, and you know, I was wrong to be that worried, because this one is really good. I think I may like it better than Dark Matter, but maybe I'm just saying that right now because this is so fresh in my mind, and Dark Matter, I already kind of forget what happened there. But Recursion, it's basically about this fake memory syndrome. So it's not even in the future, I believe. It's like 2018 or something, but there's this phenomenon going on and people don't really know why. It's called fake memory syndrome. And all of a sudden, people are having these two different memories. They have a memory of one life and they have a memory of another life that both seem to be so real. And they're wondering, oh, is this contagious? You know, I got into contact with this one person who had it. Am I going to get these fake memories? And people are freaking out because they're having two lives, but when they come down to it, one life is real and the other one is super fake, but maybe they like that life more. They had children there, they're super happy, and now that they realize that life is not real, they're super depressed. They're like killing themselves. The suicide rate is going really high. And so this guy, this main character, I already forget his name, Barry or something. Yeah, this Barry, he's a cop. He gets called to this high New York City building because this lady is going to kill herself. And she says all these things, you know, about why she's going to kill herself, because she has these fake memories about another life with this guy who she had a child together with. They had a son. And she wakes up all of a sudden and those memories are not real. She's alone in her New York City apartment, and so she's really sad. She tries to contact this supposed husband of hers, and he's like, I don't know who you are. And so she's really sad. She kills herself, basically. And so this cop, he's like finding inconsistencies with this suicide. He's like really sad that he wasn't able to prevent it, but he's trying to figure out what exactly is going on with this fake memory syndrome, because something is out of place. He goes and I'm already spoiling too much. Maybe, whatever. So he goes and sees this guy trying to figure out what happens, and something else is going on besides this fake memory syndrome. And I just don't want to give away too much, okay? Because my mind was blown. I think this is one of those books where the concepts are just so crazy that I stop and I spend like a long time trying to figure out what exactly going on, how this actually is working, how it's actually even possible. And then when I finally realize that I can't make sense of it, I move on and read the next chapter. And the next chapter, they already explained to me what I'm trying to think, right? So it's just super crazy, really fast paced. And it alternates with other chapters with this maybe like a neuroscientist who is doing her own thing. I think in the past, you learn about her life and how she came to be. She's trying to come up with a way, because her mom has dementia, she's trying to come up with a way to save memories and help people in the future who gets dementia get those memories back. And so there's like flashbacks back and forth in these alternating chapters, and then their chapters collide, and you try to figure out what exactly is going on with these people. I don't want to say more, and probably what I just said is super confusing. Just know that you're in for a wild ride if you read this, and it's nothing short of amazing. Blake Crouch has another book that is coming out in July called Upgrade, and I kind of want to go into that blind too. Every time I read the synopsis, I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't really know what's going on, so I forget about it. And I'm never gonna read it. I think Blake Crouch is another autobi author for me. But yeah, there you have it. Sorry that's a little bit confusing, but this is my favorite book of May. If you are not a big science fiction reader and you want to get into it, give Blake Crouch a try, because his books are just super phenomenal. Recursion is really great. Dark Matter was great. I'm sure Upgrade is going to be awesome too. I am already knowing that I'm going to go into July buying it, but yeah, that was awesome. Okay, well, just to summarize, Things We Never Got Over was really bad and Recursion was really good. But thank you for sticking out with me again and reading this May wrap up. I'll see you next time. Bye.